there's probably truth to both. It absolutely makes us better people. Again, I think money in its most pure form is just our effort, our labor, our time, our energy, abstracted into a market good that we can freely trade. And so I've considered things like government debt and the ability for governments to print currency to be the closest thing that we've ever seen to time travel and abuse on a population.
When Jack Mallers talks about money as time travel, he is not being poetic. He is saying that when governments borrow and print, they are literally pulling your future sweat into the present without your consent. That is the core of why, in his view, the political class hates Bitcoin. A money that they cannot conjure up or weaponize ends this trick. It gives ordinary people a way to store their lifetime of work somewhere that the state cannot quietly raid with inflation, and that is where the promise of getting rich and free begins.
So if money is your time and energy in an abstracted form, and they're able to debase it and devalue it, by proxy, they're devaluing you.
It's really important to note, please.
And so, like, I will just say, like, it's one of the more abusive things government has ever done to the population is have a vector to debase humans. Because again, it's like, well, it's debasing the currency, but they are, like, your money is a reflection of the things you've done for those around you. It's supposed to represent the value you get up and create every day. And so by proxy, you are destroying, you're increasing the time and energy required to live a sustainable life.
Just to get by, right?
Yes.
Here he pushes the argument further. If your savings are your life in bottled form, then inflation is not some abstract macro concept. It is a slow attack on who you are and what you have done. In Jack's framing, fiat debasement is not a neutral policy tool. It is a one-way siphon that keeps you running harder just to stand still while the people closest to the printing press glide ahead. A neutral, fixed supply money that you can opt into is the exact opposite of that, which is why those who benefit from the current game see Bitcoin as a direct threat.
I've been very vocal about this. I'm not left, I'm not right. I'm not red, I'm not blue. I'm not up, I'm not down. All this dumbass shit. I'm orange, I'm a Bitcoiner. I think
You could do that. We could clap for that.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that the best way for all of us, but I'll speak for myself and not for you guys, to affect change that I believe in is through open source software, is through free markets and building a profitable business is the financial expression of making the world a better place because you are producing more value for the world than you're consuming from the world. And so politicians are politicians no matter how you dress them up, no matter how much makeup, no how many fake tans. Like,
Jack's refusal to wear a team jersey in politics is part aesthetic, part strategy. If both parties live on the same fiat life support, then the real opposition in his mind is not red or blue, it is orange. Instead of trusting promises from people in suits, he wants the fight to move into open source code and competitive markets. A world where you vote with your wallet and your node instead of with a ballot that never seems to change the basic game. That is another reason why governments are uncomfortable with Bitcoin. It invites people to shift their loyalty from parties to protocols.
One of Bitcoin's greatest strengths is that you're better off on its team than standing in its way. I mean, that's the design of the threat of a 51% attack. Even if you were to get that much hash power, you're better off just mining a ton of Bitcoin than double spending someone's pizza transaction, right? And it's the same thing with governments. I think, Donald Trump is way better off friends with a new wealth class that's a multi-trillion-dollar asset that's competing with gold for potentially the new reserve system and how we all capitalize. He's way better off being our friend than being our enemy. And I think governments are learning that. Institutions are learning that. And that is the beautiful part about Bitcoin. So, anyone needs Bitcoin more than Bitcoin needs them.
Here, he flips the usual fear story on its head. Instead of asking whether Bitcoin can survive governments, He asks whether governments can afford to stand against a new multi-trillion-dollar asset that is already rewarding its allies. His claim is that game theory is on Bitcoin's side. In the long run, it is smarter to plug into the network than to try to crush it. But before that lesson is fully absorbed, there is a phase where officials push back hard, pressure companies, and try to keep people locked into the old rails.
Money is the market good that you acquire to save and later exchange for the things that you need. These boots are not money. I acquired them to consume them, to put them on my foot. I didn't acquire them to save and later get groceries, okay? So it's a very simple concept. We all get up, we work, we provide value for those around us, hopefully, and in exchange for that, we need a market good to represent our time and energy, human effort.
That simplicity is exactly what makes his message so dangerous to the existing system. If money is just the thing that carries your effort from today into tomorrow, then people are free to choose the best tool for that job. Calling Bitcoin just an asset while insisting the dollar is real money is more about control than clarity. Once average savers understand that they are allowed to pick their own monetary measuring stick, the monopoly of state currency begins to wobble.
Well, because people have convoluted the concept of money to benefit them. It's like, oh, no, Bitcoin's not money. You're talking about an asset. The dollar's money. No, how about fuck you? First of all, don't tell me what to think or how to say what I want to say. Money is what I want to save, then I later exchange for the things I want in my life. Now, if I walk into the pizza parlor and they say, well, we technically only accept dollars at that moment, then I just convert my Bitcoin to dollars and I hand to get the pizza. But what I used as money was Bitcoin because I exchanged the work I'm doing for those around me for Bitcoin and then later exchange it for the ththings I want. So this convoluted concept that there's like all these different forms of like, fuck you. I just don't buy it, and sorry, like, because it really does bother me. Of like, you know, there are powerful people in this industry that.
This is where the gloves come off. Mallers is not only criticizing central bankers and lawmakers, he is also calling out industry insiders who quietly nudge him to soften his language so regulators will not feel threatened. The idea that you are not allowed to call Bitcoin money is exactly the kind of narrative management that keeps people from understanding what is at stake. If you accept that Bitcoin is money, then you are no longer stuck with a savings account that can be diluted whenever it is politically convenient.
Like, as a human being, I was born to love others, to contribute to something bigger than myself. Like, this is bigger than me. And it's bigger than anyone else's self-interest as well. And so, you know, I don't think any of us were born inherently bad or wrong. So why I wouldn't want to stand for the truth and be honest? So, you know, what's my preference? To be honest, stand for what I believe in. And by the way, not in an arrogant fashion. I'll be the first to raise my hand, which I've done throughout my career all the time, when I'm wrong.
Underneath the hoodie and the swearing, this is the moral core of his argument. He frames Bitcoin not as a clever trade, but as a way of aligning money with truth and fairness. If debasement quietly steals time from your future, then refusing to participate and teaching others how to opt out becomes, in his eyes, a kind of ethical duty. That helps explain why he is willing to upset banks, politicians, and even fellow crypto figures in order to keep the message consistent.
Say, listen, there's a $38 trillion hole, and there's right now a fight of who's going to realize that loss. Is it going to be Russia, China, the US, the American taxpayer, the banking system? What Bitcoin allows us to do is say, I don't know the answer to that. You guys will probably point guns at each other to figure that out. It's not going to be me. Because I'm going to take my time and energy, and I'm protect it with math very peacefully.
So by the end of this fireside chat, Jack has painted a clear picture. Governments and legacy institutions have built a world where your time is borrowed from the future. your savings are diluted in the present, and your milestones keep drifting further away. Bitcoin, in his telling, is the first tool that lets you silently step off that treadmill, protect your work with code instead of promises, and eventually build real wealth and freedom on your own terms. Hearing his case in full, where do you land? Is Bitcoin really the escape hatch from a broken system? Or do you think the government's hatred of it is actually justified?